last night, a user commented on one of my videos and told me that I don't deserve to be called a Seattleite. I don't represent Seattle. I need to change my handle on YouTube. Well, I am from Seattle initially. I'm not at the moment. I've left. But it made me think that based on the fact that I've said things that support Donald Trump, or in that case, were opposed to Harris and Walz, the guy assumed that he knew what all of my positions were because I was critical of Tim Walz's ad. So what I want to do is kind of express what my values are, what my beliefs are, because voting for policies or politicians stems from a belief, a value. And not many people will tell you what their values are. That if you ask them, to talk about politics, well, I'm a Democrat, I'm a Republican, I don't like Donald Trump, I don't like Kamala Harris. They'll tell you what they don't like, and they'll tell you a group identity that they've chosen for themselves. But what they won't do most often is tell you what issues and values are important to them. So I'm going to start with this. The number one issue to me, and you can, say whatever you want about it, but the number one issue to me is that I am a big conservationist. I believe in protecting our natural resources and our natural lands from being, destroyed for profit. And I understand that that's going to make us rely a little more on imports or just make things a little more expensive. But I don't like the idea of tearing up, beautiful wilderness to frack or drill for oil. I don't like the idea of clear-cutting forests. There's a balance to be had there, of course. I don't like the idea of dumping waste into the waterways. I mean, that ship has sailed for sure. But my dad used to work for a filtration company, and in a study of waterways throughout the country and aquifers, they found that there's 2 places in the country where the aquifers aren't damaged almost beyond repair, by their estimation. And one was in the Busick State Forest in Missouri, southwest Missouri, and the other was in the Kootenai River Valley in northwest Montana. So there's very little that has been preserved of, by way of the air and the water in our country. And I am a big proponent of protecting what we've got and, clearing up the pollution that's been done. That's part of why I was supporting RFK. Enough on that. I could talk about it forever. I am for the regulation of pharmaceutical companies, because I believe that doctors and pharmaceutical reps are far more willing to sell you a drug than they are to help you solve the root of the problem. Many chronic disease problems could have been prevented through lifestyle change and diet, and that is absolutely a fact. You can debate me all you want on this. I am right, and the studies have been done to prove it. Some of the most common chronic illnesses like hypertension, diabetes, these sorts of things, completely preventable by diet and lifestyle changes. So regulation of the pharmaceutical companies to prevent harmful compounds from being introduced in them. So back in 2001, they removed thimerosal from pediatric vaccines because it was found to be harmful and causing developmental delays and disabilities in children. That's not to say that vaccines in general are bad. I've never said that. But what I am saying is that pharmaceutical companies go in with a huge motivator for, being able to preserve, save, sell, and keep that chain going for themselves. It's huge profits, the most profits of anything, maybe other than oil. I don't know. I am for the regulation of agricultural practices. Or to rephrase that, I am for organic farming. The pesticides and herbicides that are sprayed on large fields. And I understand, once again, that this is a complicated topic because if we can't produce enough food, people will starve to death. I get that. But at the same time, the chronic disease epidemic in our country is in part being caused by the fertilizers and sprays that are running off of fields and into waterways. They are causing autoimmune disease. They are causing cancer. They're causing all sorts of respiratory issues, all of the sprays getting into the air. In fact, one of my younger brothers almost died as an effect from this. They had to leave. At that time, we had moved out of Seattle. We'd moved into the country, I'll say, and had to leave because there was agriculture going on around, and it nearly killed him. I am for a stronger regulation of the Department of the Interior. There needs to be better oversight of the people that take care of the forests and the national parks. In Montana, where my family now lives, the Forest Service are known to be some of the most lazy and undisciplined people around. They will also let things slide for a buck, and I suppose this says more about just bureaucracy in general. I think that a smaller, less bureaucratic government would be a better thing. I am for a little welfare, probably not as much as we have right now, honestly. But I do believe that there's a good, if we're going to tax the population, which that's a totally different topic, the most vulnerable should be taken care of, those that can't take care of themselves. And that includes like kids with developmental disabilities whose parents have no way of paying for the obscene costs of medical care for those kids. And I know firsthand, as someone who has worked with that pediatric population, how trying that is for parents, and how much Medicaid actually does to assist them with what they need. I am for making the economy friendly towards small businesses. My dad owns a small business. He helps my uncle run his own business in Seattle, in downtown Seattle. He helps him make the products for it. I have another uncle who runs a small business in Seattle. I grew up around people who, my dad made a living, on the side of, doing construction work when he would get home from his day job. And all of us boys learned from dad how to work with our hands, and how to lay brick, how to pour concrete, how to do carpentry, because he had to, work his small business on the side. And honestly, when I have the extra time and money, and I probably should be better about this, full disclosure, I will go to farmers markets. I will go to local butchers. When I'm buying outdoor or hiking or camping equipment, I will go to a local business instead of Walmart. Now, granted, there's a lot of times where it's like, I am running out of time. I've just got to go to Walmart, got to stop and pick something up. I'm in a hurry. And I do that. I should be better about it. But, at the end of the day, things are also really expensive. And so there's a balance. But supporting the small, whenever we go out to eat, we always choose, a local business rather than a chain. There's things like that you can do to support the small businesses. And I've always been a big proponent of that. School choice is something else that is important to me. I think that there are fundamental flaws in the education system, and giving people a choice of where to send their kids to school is important, especially since we're paying our taxes into it. We ought to be able to choose if we're going to go to the public school, the private school, or homeschool. I don't think that's unreasonable. I know this is a touchy subject, but I am generally, I would say I lean a little pro-life. I am for exceptions, with rape and incest, to some degree, but I'm also, I'm open to the discussion. I'm informed a lot by, the fact that I have a little girl, and I can imagine just how horrible it would be to have lost her. But, you know, when there's a woman that's important in your life as well, you let your decisions be informed by her. My wife is very pro-life. She doesn't believe in exceptions for rape. She does for incest, but I mean, I let my decision on, or not even decision, but my opinion be influenced a bit by the women that I know and what they think, because not that men can't have an opinion on this, but I think that I think that you ought to be informed by the women in your life on this particular topic and hear what they have to say. I am for a strictly controlled border. And that's because I am in favor of small businesses. When, and I saw this, I used to work with my brother in Colorado. We would, flip houses. And a lot of the guys that own small contracting businesses, and in Colorado Springs at the time, it was booming. A lot of those guys were being undercut by illegal immigrants who would come in and they'd bring 30 people to the job and they'd finish it in 2 days. And you can't compete. You can't compete because they wouldn't have licenses to do, you know, the electrical and plumbing and things like that. They just do them. And what ended up happening is we would go by and my brother was certified as an electrician, and we would go by and we would fix the problems that these guys left because they did not know what they were doing. They weren't licensed properly. They would do kind of a jimmy rig job and take the money and leave. And then the homeowners would be left, you know, up a creek without a paddle because they, you know, who are they gonna call the state down on? There's no, there's 35 people representing the company. That's not really a company. It doesn't actually exist. It's not registered because 80% of the people in it are not legal. And, that alone, you can see the small businesses that were run in Colorado Springs at the time, they were all furious. All the contracting businesses were furious because they were being overrun and undercut by people who just weren't doing things the legal way. So I am for stricter border control to keep, to keep the small businesses going and to keep crime down. So those are some things that are very important to me. There's more, I'm sure, but, I want to put out there that these are my values, and they're not strictly liberal or strictly conservative in any sense of the word. I am very centrist, and I'm very libertarian. As far as things like gay marriage, I don't care. Marry whoever you want. I don't know that the government should be involved in that anyway. If you want to live as a trans person, if you're an adult, do what you want. It's not up to me to tell you that you're right or wrong. I'm very live and let live on those sorts of issues. So, like I said, these things are important to me. Personal choice is important to me. But I thought I would put that out there because just because I'm voting for Donald Trump doesn't mean that you know what my political opinions are. That's about it.